All right, traders, welcome to the official AMA for the new Springboard Algo. Glad to have you here. Of course, if you are here, then odds are you've purchased the algo, and so we are in good company among those who are in it to win it, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and dive into what this thing can do and what do you want it to do for you. I'm also going to give you some added tips and tricks and ideas in terms of algo trading in general. We would love to see more algo traders crushing the markets, making money, passing evals, all of this sort of things. So what can we do to help you? That is our intention. Okay, so that's what we're here to do. I say this in every event. First off, we are recording the event, so we'll get to the recording, of course. We'll have that available for you. If you have questions, ask away. This is your time. It's not ours. We do this for our members, for our traders. The idea is to empower you to get the most out of what you're spending your money on. You work hard to earn it, and we would love to make the most of that for you. Okay, so if you have questions, ask away. Happy to stop and answer questions along the way. Of course, we can't guarantee results. Products and services are for educational purposes. We cannot guarantee that what has happened in the past is going to happen again in the future. The markets are very versatile and they move and they change. And so as a trader, it's your responsibility to pivot with those markets. We'll do whatever we can to help you understand how to do that. Okay, so but we can't guarantee results. We're not your trading advisors. We can't tell you what to trade or when to trade it. Okay. All right, if we're all good on that, let's go ahead and move on. So, Springboard Algo, what is it? What can it do? How does it work? Let's dive in. So here's an example of a signal. I was just looking at some things on the chart here with a trader, so let's go through it. So we have MNQ. This is just a 1-minute chart. What this is doing is it's finding the lower highs here on each bar. We could see how the market is just it broke through that level of support and tanked. We see this all the time. So how do we as traders take advantage of that? Well, we can trade the break of that last bar. As soon as that happens, we set an offset. So if this is our bar here that has put in the lower highs, right? Let's say our market's like this, we would have an offset. And that offset can be X number of ticks, right? So let's say on NQ, this is set to 8. I don't know, I'm just using a random example. So this is telling us that once the market eclipses this level by 8 ticks or more, then we're going to get a buy signal there. Okay, so that's how it works. That's what it's doing. And at that point, our stop is going to be based on this low of the market. Okay, so that's where our stop is based on. We're going to tell the algo how many ticks below that stop or this low, how many ticks below that do we want to give ourselves as a buffer? Because as we know, the market can sometimes give us a signal, come down, sweep out, flush out some liquidity, and then take off without us. And then we're left there with the stop loss and everybody else is taking money home. And then we cry and it's just terrible. Okay, so what's our buffer? What are we gonna put there? How many ticks? That's the other factor there. Okay. Aside from that, we have a setting of how many of these bars, how many do we need consecutively before we can take a trade on a break? You may say as a trader, well, if it's only 2 bars, like I'm not interested in trading the break because that can happen anywhere. Here's our 2 bars and there's your break. Here's a few and then there's a break. And you may not find that to be adequate for you. You might want to see, well, how many bars do we have here? Well, we only had 3 and then a break. And then we had 1, 2, 3, and then a break. And so that happens kind of all over the chart. And you really just have to look at the chart and the style that you're using to figure out what's that number. And moreover, do you want it to be more of a trending system or do you want it to be more of a reversal system? And so we're going to look at how to accomplish those type of things. Okay. So that is what the algo is doing. That's how the signal works. That's how the strategy works. That's what it's designed to do. Let's go into the settings and let's look at it in the settings here. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this off. Okay, so let's go all the way to the top. So minimum consecutive bars. So that was how many bars do I need to put in a lower high before I'm willing to trade the breakout? Clearly, we have plenty on this one. And then this was the breakout bar. The breakout was this plus X number of ticks, right? So the offset there, entry offset, is the number of ticks. So let's say this needs to be 8 because it's NQ. NQ can move 8 ticks in like half a second. So, we'll just use that as an example, as aggressive. Allow equal highs or lows. What this is doing is it's saying, do you want to count if this bar had an equal high? Do you want to count that? The smaller markets or smaller charts, you may want to enable that. Okay. NQ moves a lot. There's a lot of tick movement. And so you may not want that checked. Okay. Because the odds of a bar having exactly the same level on NQ is not as strong as, say, ES or crude or gold or something like that. Okay. So that's what that's doing. Entry direction, obviously, you're going to tell it go long or short. And then this is something that is really, really cool that I am very, very excited about, especially for variable range systems, is the dollar size risk. Rather than just saying, I'm going to trade 2 contracts and 40 ticks on NQ. Well, what if the market, if the ATR is the same every day, the range of that market, if that's the same every day, well, then you're in luck. But the market's not in the same range every day, and some days are more volatile than others. And so you might want to have one trade that's 100 ticks. Next one might be 40 ticks. Well, then that's going to change your position size quite a bit, your dollar risk. So what this is doing is it's allowing us to nail down the max risk per trade. Let's say we want that at 500. Well, it's going to factor in how many contracts do you need to trade, and it's going to trade that many contracts for you. This is absolutely huge, and I love that we have that capability now. So order type, you're probably going to want to be market order unless you really want to put limit, but I would just leave it as market. And then you already know how the algo engine works. That's leave that for another time. Enable algo stop loss. What this is saying is, do you want to use the swing low as your stop, or do you want to use a fixed tick stop? I would suggest probably use the algo stop loss is going to be a better approach. And then this is where you have the ability to tell it what's the smallest trade you're going to take. You might have something like this where you wick lower and it's like a tiny little doji candle at the low. And then you get the break here. Well, that might be too small of a trade, and odds are it's going to crush you, right? So how small is the smallest trade you're willing to take? On something like an NQ, I mean, to me, I want to be at least 40. Not every trader is going to do that. So let's just kind of bring it down a little bit, and let's just say 36. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it as 36. That's fine. Max allowable, if it's NQ, that number might even be higher. You have to decide for you. Stop loss offset. So this is now where we're getting into how far below the low do we want that stop to go. To me, I like it to be, 20 ticks, 16 ticks, at least 4 or 5 points on NQ. Let's just say 16. Cool. And then profit target. This is something that you can optimize. I'm going to set this to 2 to 1 on NQ as an example, and then start and stop times. For me, I'm, really active on the equities. 10 to 11:30 is a good time. You could trade it till noon if you wanted. I'll just
Hey,
leave it
Tim,
as noon. Yeah.
I don't know if you were planning to go back. There is another method for defining the stop offset. Um, it's simpler to use just that number of ticks,
Yeah.
but the other option is to look at the range, the high-low range of the pattern of the series of bars and pick the furthest wick of that look back range, because that's what that bars back for stop loss placement is,
Uh-huh.
two rows down from there.
Yeah.
So it's just another way to do it where you're using the actual range of that series of lower high bars, you
So
know,
this is saying that, so if this is our total range and we were to set it to 20%, so
it,
that's going whatever that 20% is, that's the range
it's
below.
gonna set the stop offset as that amount, as 20% of that range. And
Gotcha.
it depends on how far back, you're in this particular example. I think what's the first parameter is like what's the very first parameter in the, can you scroll up?
Oh yeah.
It's what is it, 8? Okay.
Yeah, 8.
So it's looking 8 bars back. And the reason there's a setting there for bars back for stop placement is that maybe you don't want to use all 8. You want to use 5. So if you put
Mm-hmm.
5, then it's going to only look back 5. It's just a way to use that series of bars, the range of those bars, and look at a percentage of that range as a way to define the offset as
Okay,
opposed to just a set number of ticks.
that is pretty freaking fantastic.
Yeah, so
I
it
didn't realize
allows,
that's what that was. That's
yeah,
amazing.
so it allows changes in volatility to affect your stop size.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I'm gonna move this out of the way. So then why don't we just set it to a Fibonacci ratio, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you
And
can do whatever percentage you want from 0
yeah,
to 100.
exactly. So let's look at the exact numbers. 23.6. I can't remember exactly.
20, yeah, 20,
Um
23.8.
23.8. Yeah, 23.6. I was right.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at so we'll just round it to 24 because I'm sure it doesn't do decimals. So stop loss offset. Let's do 24. I mean, let's do it. That's cool. I love it. And then we've got all the familiar filters in here. We're just going to leave all the filters off for the time being and just look at it from, so we could see the orders. And let's go ahead and fire it off and see what we're seeing here. Let me just make sure I've got everything figured out. I probably need to turn it on. Cool. Now that's really cool. All right, so let's do that and then, okay. And we'll let it do its thing. Bars back for stop loss, a mechanism to trail your stop loss. No, in this case, no. You can, but in this case, no. Um, so cool. So this is saying that it would actively be in a trade. I'll just move this out of our way. So we're not really worried about dollars and cents right now. We're just looking at signals. But here's our move down. And we can see that it took that range of those 8 bars and added, the 23%, whatever that was. And then apparently somehow we hit a target there, even though the target's up here. It's interesting. It's on backtest mode, so I don't know what's going on there, but it's fine. But yeah, that is really slick. I really like that. This was set to 2 to 1 on the risk reward. So um yeah, that's a nice looking trade. This is where you can go back and look at your chart and just say, what do you need to see? I'm going to delete drawing tools. What do you need to see as far as your chart? And you can kind of get it dialed in. There's a nice long. Personally, if I'm looking at NQ as my market, I'm looking at longs only because the market's moving long on NQ and it has been. So personally, I wouldn't be looking for shorts. Be looking at longs. Man, oh man, that's a huge trade. So, no starting balance and entry section. Oh, I don't know, Baz. I'm not sure. Send a message to support on that. It should be there. It should be there. Yeah, I don't know. So cool. So that's what the algo is doing. So this is MNQ. Let's go look at another market. Let's look at RTY and just see what that looks like. We'll need to set it differently, obviously, and see what it can do. Oh, you have it. My version doesn't. Let's go look. I think maybe because I put fixed cost. I don't know. So let's disable it and go look. Fixed cost, percent of balance, market, none. I don't know. I have seen it there before. I don't know. I'll look into it. Yeah. Will there be future AMAs? I don't think so. We usually just do the one AMA. We try to cover everything. But of course, if you have questions, you can always reach out. Entry offset. So this is RTY. So let's go entry offset. Let's just go 3. Minimum stop. I'm going to say 15. I don't have a max. Bars back and percent is the same, which is great. This is great too for like using different instruments. So here's another example. If you are an equities trader and you want to set this in more of a trending mode, well, then you're going to pick the strongest market that's trending and apply the settings to that market. And so you might have one for each type of market and then run that setting for that day, right? This is the way to get them more out of the algos, is using the right tool for the job, using the right tool for the market for that day, and so on. So we'll just enable this. And so whenever we're starting 1.5 million, okay. I must have had a really huge dollar per trade, which is fine. The first thing you want to do on any market is just go to the chart and look at it and see what do you, oh, I don't have times enabled, that's why. See what do you want it to do? And what are you looking for on the charts? And then you can start dialing into what you want it to be for that market. Let's go. There we go. There it is. All right, let's turn this back on. Cool. All right, we'll just get that out of the way. So now we can go in and look at what are the signals, what's it doing, what do we want it to do? We didn't get any signals that day. Might be too restrictive, right? We're only getting one trade a day. Like that's probably not enough for most traders. So we can look at it and say, yeah, it's too restrictive, and the targets are probably too big. You know, do you want to take quicker targets and that sort of thing? So those are a couple things we've already determined just by glancing at the chart. You know, maybe the stop's not deep enough. I don't know. You got to look at the chart and see. To me, if I'm looking at this as a 1 minute, what I want to do is look at it on a volume chart. So let's do that. I wanted to see what this looks like. Anybody here trade volume charts? What do you guys think? Anybody here trading on volume? Let's go by minute. So I'm just going to do a quick analysis on what the volume is for RTY. So I've loaded 500 days. So we're going to give it a minute to do its thing here. So bear with me. All right. And let's go in and do this. Trying to find the 1 minute range based on volume. So I'll just go ahead and add that. Okay, so this is telling me the volume was 325. And then what I like to do is look at it more recently as well. It's just my own approach. It's what works for me. 334, it's pretty similar. 324. Cool. So we're going to put this at 325 volume. And let's see what that looks like. 325. I'm going to load 10 days. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, this is huge trades. Right, so let's go in here and get this fixed up. Apply. Cool. Okay, so minimum consecutive bars. We can optimize this type of stuff, right? Entry offset and ticks, we can optimize that. Dollars per trade, it doesn't matter because we're going to have our own risk per trade preferences. Algo stop loss, we'll optimize all these. Okay, so let's go in and pull up an optimization window and we'll just start building something out for RTY. Okay. So we've got a window here. Let's go to volume 325. And now I've got this set to October, and I'm doing this on purpose because I want to show the concept of optimization. This is something that we kind of do and we go through it. Now, normally I would pick something that's closer to where we're at so that we have, have something that's more workable. But we just had Christmas and Thanksgiving and all these holidays, and so the markets are just different. So I don't want to test something for Christmas. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to load a template. I'm just going to start with this and then go to optimization, and we're going to go do some optimizing. Okay. So minimum consecutive bars is going to be one of the first things that I optimize. Entry offset is going to be one of the first things I optimize. Dollars per trade, I'm just going to leave it at 500 because that's just going to make my life easy. Entry order, limit pre, opposite, max pre, allow entries, good. Enable stop loss is true. Minimum allowable stop. RTY, really, personally, I don't ever like to trade for less than 15. So I'm just going to do that. And we'll just lock it in at that number. Max allowable stop, yeah, 100's fine. Stop loss offset. Let's go to percent because I really like that idea. And let's do that 23. Let's just go 23. And we're going to lock that in. Target type, risk reward. This comes down to a little bit of trader preference and a little bit of what the market's going to give you. NQ tends to do pretty well on bigger R multiples. This is going to be something that I optimize, but starting out, I just want to look at it from a one-to-one perspective. So that's going to be my starting point. Trade time, I'm just going to do 10 to noon. I'm not going to block anything like that. I'm not putting any filters in here yet. I just want to see what the algo looks like initially. Okay. And I'm going to show the EMA and I'm going to show the sub panel because I want to see it. Six, and let's go 13. 13. I just want to see it. I'm not locking these numbers in just yet, but okay. And then we're going to put this on a volume chart. Oops. And let's go 325. Now, for the charts that you're using, you probably want to use variable range bars, volume, tick, or dollars. Okay. Use one of those. That's going to give you your best bet. And what I'm going to do is go back to October. I know it's weird. Just bear with me. You'll see why. Okay. So those are the days I'm going to look at. And then I want to go by net profit. Max net profit is my preference. Okay. So this is where I'm starting out. So now the first thing that I want to optimize now is I'm going to set this larger because let's set it to 3. I'm not going to optimize for that yet. The first thing I want to do is just look at consecutive bars. What's the difference? We're going to go 3 to 10. Well, let's just keep it at 8 by ones. And then I'm going to optimize that first. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and let's run it. And then we're just going to go take a look at it. Okay, so we've got 21 trades, 2/3 profitable at a 1-to-1 using a 7. That's kind of a sweet spot. And 6 and 8 are good too. You're not getting as many trades with the 8, and your dollars and cents are less. So you're leaving money on the table. In this case, with this market, 7 was better and 6 was fine. There's more trades, not quite as profitable. So this is where, remember, we haven't optimized anything else yet. So if you start with a 7, you have less trades to work with to begin with. Okay, so think about this for a second. Do we want to optimize 21 trades for an entire 4 weeks of data, or do we want to see more trades? Personally, I want more trades. So I would actually be inclined to start with the 6, because this is going to give me something that I can now go in and filter out as I please. And it's already a decent starting point, right? So now if I optimize this one, that's going to be something I can run with. So I'm going to set this to 6. We're going to go run through and take a look. So entry offset, let's optimize for this one next. We're going to go 2 to, let's go to 5. I don't want to go any more than that. And let's optimize for that. So you have sort of 2 categories of what you can look to optimize. Okay. You've got your strategy, your strategy parameters. So that's going to be the thing like, how many number of bars before you get a signal, right? And then you have your filters, which are going to be kind of the engine. You've got moving averages. You've got the oscillator, the VM lean. You've got, all sorts of different filters you can add. So those are so always start with your strategy parameters and then add filters. Okay. So this is telling us you have a little bit of a better profit factor, less trades, less money. You made more money off of this with it set to, you got more trades, and this was set to 4 as the offset. So let's run with that. Set it to 4. Okay. But we're already starting to get some ranges here, right? So we've got this is just an example for RTY, and you can do this for others too. And I like to have a range for each parameter. The reason I do this is because you don't want to get too far off your benchmark. Okay, so think of it this way. If you optimize the crap out of this thing so much that you have no resemblance to the initial setting that you had 2 months ago, then you're like, you're in this giant pond and there's the shore and you're way out here on a boat all by yourself, and you lost your paddle somewhere way over here. And so you're far off ashore. You can't even see the shore anymore. You're in the middle of nowhere and you're like, I'm going to die out here. Okay, that's what happens when you over optimize too much. So have a setting as your benchmark and then have ranges that you can use to where you're never straying too far from your original benchmark. I'll get this right eventually. There we go. So there. So we've got some ranges that we've built for RTY, right? So we've got minimum consecutive bars. Okay. So for this, you're going to be, look, 2 is very aggressive and 10 is very extreme. So for me, I would rather be, the range for me on the optimization would be 3 to 8. Okay. That would be what I'd be looking at. Now you can go with whatever you want. If you're on a faster chart, you might have it set to a larger number. If you're on a slower chart, you might set it to less, right? So just do what works for you. All right, so we've got that. And then entry offset, right? You're going to have a different number for this for each market, because NQ doesn't move the same as ES and doesn't move the same as RTY. And so for RTY, the entry offset might be 2 to 8. But on ES, it might be 2 to 4. On NQ, it might be 8 to 15. I don't know, 8 to 20. So every market's going to be a little bit different. Then with some of these others, minimum allowable stop is going to be different for each market. For me, I would usually set it to 15, and that's something that I really wouldn't look at optimizing too much. Same thing with max stop. Like, I'm really not worried about that as an optimization factor. The stop offset is something that you might look to optimize. Really, I love the idea of the range because it's using the market volatility as a factor in determining your stops, which is what we're looking to do anyway. And the fact that you have a max risk per trade in dollars and cents is fantastic because now you can lock in that risk on every trade. So that is really, really cool. I love it. And then we're going to look at risk reward. And this will vary from market to market as well. And that's something that we'll definitely want to optimize, right? Trade times is something that we kind of do at the end. And then the filters will optimize separately. Okay. So let's go in here and let's look at risk reward next. Okay, so I'm going to go from 0.5 to a 2 to 1, and my increments are going to be 0.1, and I'm going to run that optimization. Okay, cool deal. So this was the best, and the other numbers aren't too far off of what our top number is, which is good. That's a good sign telling us that what we're doing is working pretty much across the board, regardless of risk reward, which is great. So we can go in and look at this. This second one is 1.6. The first one's 1.8, 1.3, 1.1, 1.2, 0.7, 1.5. So yeah, so this is kind of where I would start to taper off. They're all pretty close together in terms of that parameter. So 1.6, 1.8. In this case, I would probably say, 1.6 is probably a good number. Number of trades is pretty comparable. Yeah, so we'll just go with the 1.6, and we'll lock it in at that number. Okay, now I've done all this work, right? I've got some sort of benchmark parameters here. Now what I want to do is see, is it relevant? If this is my settings that I'm running, first off, I'm going to save this. And we'll just go RTY, just call that starting point. I want to look and see, does it make me money the next week? If not, then it's not a benchmark setting. I'm just going to start here. No filters, no nothing. We're just going to run it for a week. Oh, I got to optimize them. And let's just go 5 to 6. That's fine. And let's see what it looks like. Because if it's good, then I know, okay, this is the setting that I want to start to filter. But I don't want to get too deep into the woods and then have to go back and do it all again. Okay, so there we go. Not good enough yet, right? We're really not, we can go in and look at how many trades did we get. There's only 4. That's not a good example of, really getting enough trades to even know if we're onto something yet. So let's add a week to it. And now I'm not looking for like incredible performance over the course of 2 weeks. This is just how I'm going about getting to my settings. Yeah, this one's the better of it with the 6, so we'll keep it at the 6. Was definitely better. And then let's go back in and let's, over those 2 weeks, now that we've added those, I want to look at this again from 1 to 1 to 2 to 1. And let's just take a look at it there, because what we're starting to do is we're starting to whittle away to create something that actually looks like a work of art, not a piece of garbage. Like we're crafting a beautiful sculpture and then we just knock its head off. Cool. This one, those 2 weeks were not great in general. 1.9, 1.8. The 1.8 is still kind of at the top. So let's go with that one. We'll change that parameter up. Yeah, exactly. Ideally, we want more than 4 a week too, right? But it depends on the market, depends on what you're doing. Some markets will give you more trades. NQ is going to be more active probably. The other thing that we could do is we can get more trades and then filter, right? But before we do anything, I'm going to go back to that time that we were testing. And I just want to go in and look at the chart and see like what kind of things should we be paying attention to? Let's go back here. You know, and sometimes you go through and you filter something and you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. And it just works out from the onset. Usually that's not the case. Usually there's some back and forth like this. The hardest thing to do, and God bless Jeff for doing all this work. The hardest thing to do is to find that initial benchmark setting. That's the hardest thing to do because you don't know what you're looking at until you really get to the chart, right? So let's go into the chart and let's just go check it out. And I just want to see, let's go to this one though, because it's a little better. That was our 6 that we've been using. Let's just go look at the chart. What is the oscillator telling us? What is, structure telling us? Those sort of things. I'm just going to go kind of middle of the road and then go forward. Okay, so let's go in and look at this. Some things I'm looking at is, are the conditions favorable? Well, here they were. It was a reversal trade. The momentum was not on our side. The EMAs were not on our side. We didn't even have structure on our side. It was a true reversal, and we got a great trade. And then it tried to take a long as another reversal straight into support here. That didn't work. But then on a pullback, at this point, I'm going to do this so I can see. At this point, we had momentum. The EMAs had just crossed over on the momentum, and we had structure on our side. So from a trending standpoint, that looked really good. And we can go here, and then here's another beautiful reversal. Do we get a trend trade? No, we got another reversal that failed. So we went 1 and 1. Let's go look at the next day. Yeah, if you set it, here's what I would suggest. This is just my take on it. I would not look to really do anything after 2:30. The reason is there's really no, as far as from a institutional standpoint, like we can all agree it's better for us to trade with the institutions, right? Institutional order flow and so on. After 2:30, there's really no rhyme or reason to what the market's doing. It's all over the place in terms of like, the consumer sentiment, what the institutions are doing. There's really not much happening. The other thing that you want to consider is there are different brackets of time for each market. 9:30 to 10 is going to be way more active than 10 to noon. Okay, so you're going to have this really volatile market. You get to 10 to noon, it's a little smaller. You get 12 to 2, it's a little smaller still, right? And then you have the pre-market, from, we'll call it 8:40 because sometimes there's news, to that 9:25. It's probably similar to the 10 to noon, but the volume's totally different. So in every one of these time frames, everything is different. So for me, the way that I like to do it, and I can't tell you what to do because what works for me on some markets might be completely different for you. But my take would be I would have one setting for this, one setting for this, and one setting for this, and one setting for this. Now, I get it. Maybe I'm overkill. But how can I measure something that's completely different against different time frames? Like to me, it's like if you want to set yourself up for long-term success, that's the way that I would do it. Now, that's just my take on it. Take it or leave it. Again, and there's no right or wrong answer to that. You wouldn't need a new chart for each, no. You could actually do it all in the same chart if you wanted to. Yeah. Do I trade through lunch? Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I do. If I need to put on a couple extra trades personally, if it's been like a break even day and I'm just looking for a winning trade, or maybe I'm down a little bit and I see something that's really, really crisp, sometimes I'll trade in a little bit. I never trade past two. It's just garbage for me anyway. Yeah. Percentage look back takes care of that automatically. I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question. We've been talking about a couple different subjects, so it might have been on something we were talking about before. Percentage look back has to do with the range and where your stop placement goes, which I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. It could, yeah, it could. I would still optimize differently, but that's me. Um, if I set up parameters in Excel, is there a facility for importing them? No, not to my knowledge. Unless you're like really, yeah, I don't even know. That's over my head. Sorry. Here we go. So, all right, so let's look at this. That was our reversal. Let's go back a little further and just take a look. No trades, no trades. So it's a little restrictive. We already know it's probably too restrictive. But also that would have been structure was on our side, but momentum was not. On this one, structure was not on our side, neither was momentum. This one, again, no filters would have helped us. This one, no filter. Well, that filter would have helped us because we wouldn't have taken the trade. This one wouldn't have helped us. So I'm seeing that a lot of these in reversal conditions look really good, which brings somewhat of a challenge in that if you're trading reversals, you really don't have filters available to you, because if you set it for structure, well, then you're just not going to get any trades. If you set momentum, well, you're not going to get any trades. So if the best trades are reversals, then that leaves you at a position as a trader to say, I have to turn it on at areas I'm interested in trading and turn it off when it's trending, you know? So the simpler version to get something that's going to work for you is to set it for trending conditions. So let's go over here. What I want to do is change this up a little bit. I want to set this to 3 to 6, optimize for that, entry offset. I'm going to leave that alone. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in, I want to see the zigzags. I'm going to set it to 3 to where I'm not chopping up all over the place. I want to look at EMAs. EMAs. Fast. I'm going to leave that alone because I kind of like that setting. but I want the fast to be a little faster. So I'm going to drop that down to a 5. And actually, let's drop this to an 11. So that's a little faster too. Okay. Cool. Good. Where's my moving averages, consecutive trades? Now, this is an interesting thing to consider for this algo too. Limit consecutive trades. This would actually help you in a sense of reversals, because what it's going to do is if you set it to 1, it's only going to take 1 that direction. It's going to wait till it comes up, and it's going to take 1 that direction. That could be really cool because you would have one here going long, right? And then you'd have one here going short that would have stopped out, but then you had one here that would have worked. But actually, you wouldn't have taken this one. You would have taken that one. So I don't know, something to consider. Kind of thinking out loud a little bit here. All right, let's keep going. Money management, time controls, market. There we go. Moving averages. I want to see them. And let's set them up as a 9 and a 20. So we can get some added context here. Oops. That one's 9. Cool. Okay, let's run it. I want to check it out with all this stuff on the chart. All right. So first off, our 6 is what we've been kind of going with. But the 3, and notice how many more trades we've got with the 3. So what I'm going to do is I want to see more signals and then look to filter because we don't have a lot of trades, and that's kind of been a downfall. So let's look at it from 3, and then we can look at it for the 5 as well. And then let's look at it with the filters. What are the filters doing? Are they going to help us or not? So on and so on. So we've got this here. Let me move this up a little so we can see better. All right, so the EMAs are down. The histogram is, at the time, was technically up. And this crossover on the momentum was up and structure was up. But that trade worked really, really well. Here we go again. Structure's down now. Momentum's down. But the EMAs had crossed over, and we get a great trade there. This one, momentum's up, everything's up, EMAs had crossed. So we're already starting to see that the EMAs on the chart are going to give us some pretty good context. This one, everything was flat, and you're trading into the low. It's just, you're going to have those trades. This one, everything is up, and all signs point to green. This one, you're trading against the market in every way. Momentum's up, everything's up, and you're trying to go short, and that's not going to work. Structure was up, so on. This one, yeah, you're going against the market there, going against the market here. And then here, everything is up except for these EMAs, and that one didn't work. Let's go to another day. Yeah, we can. Absolutely. Crossover, down, 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 structures up, worked out. This one, we're down, structure's down, everything's down, worked. This one, up, up, and up, and it still worked. Okay, so let's do this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to require the EMAs. Yeah. And I'm going to set this to 3s. I'm going to just leave that at 3. And then let's go, is it better to have structure or not? So we'll just do true or false. So we'll optimize a couple things here. So our profit factor, the best we had without it was 1.7. That yielded 47.15. I say that because actually it's a little better there. Let's go. 5 was decent. 50, 40. And there was 53 trades. 1.38. Okay. So let's run this. Must have one. I swear I put it. There we go. Little less profit, little less profit factor. And we don't have a lot of trades. So structure is kind of it's not really helping us there. Is this off or on? Oh, requiring it true. Yeah, so we did get a better profit ratio. Yeah, so I guess it is beneficial. Okay, so let's keep that. And then let's actually do this. In fact, let's run them both at the same time. That'll just make my life easier. What about the EMAs? Does it help us or not? The number to beat, though, is still that that better number where we got 5,000 in net profit, right? That's still the number to beat. So we may do all this and find out that the best filter is to just have more bars required. So that's a factor too, right? All right, so this was the best, and this was showing both of them to be true. So let's enable both of them. And now let's go with this, but go back to a slower number. Are we going to do this? Yeah, okay, great. And actually, we can optimize for this. So let's go fast. We'll go anywhere from a 3 to 10. Slow. Let's go 7 to 21. But we're going to go by twos. Okay, require. Obviously, we need that to be true. Otherwise, we're going to optimize nothing. Okay, so 4340 is where we're at. 64. See how long that takes. Anybody have any questions while we're waiting on this? You guys tracking along so far? How's everybody doing? Feeling good? Yeah, a couple of minutes for this to run. Yeah, so stretch the legs, jump up and down, quick bathroom breaks, refill the coffee, the water. Cool. I'll give it a couple minutes to do its thing here. wonder if this will let me flip over to this other one while it's doing this without blowing everything up. Yeah, we'll get the replay out to you, Tony. Yep. Hey, good to see you. No worries. Should come out today. They're usually pretty quick about that on these. Yeah. Best setups for prop trading. Yeah, it really comes down to risk. Really that's if you have a profitable system, then it's all about managing the risk. And we can go over some on that. Yeah, for sure. So we'll make sure we talk about prop risk. And here's the thing that is a total game changer to this, which is one of the things that I'm just ecstatic about, is the risk per trade. With algos in the past, you didn't really have that, you know. Some of them you do, but you have to really set contracts and static targets and stops. With this, you get the best of both worlds. So I love this for prop trading, especially. Okay, so this gave us some pretty good numbers. Filtered out some of the trades, not too terribly so. My question at this point is, are we starting to kind of go down the rabbit hole? Like, are we getting too much into, the optimization? So what we got to do is look forward a little bit and see, is this an anomaly? Is it good? Like, what are we doing? So for these, we've got the fast 7 and 19 were the best. If we go here, I don't know if I can see it on this or not. I don't think so. They're really pretty comparable, though. There's not much of a difference between one setting and the next. Like this one is better because it filtered out more trades. And so you're going to end up with less of a drawdown here on this one. So let's click on that. This was 8 and 11. So let's go with that. Let's go 8 and 11. So now what we've done by adding these filters is we've made it more trending in nature because we're looking at trending filters, right? So that's a big factor there. So let's look at the weeks ahead. And what does that look like? Must have one to optimize. Sure thing. Oops. Now, am I expecting magic and unicorns? No, I'm just looking to see, is it going to, propel us forward with these settings? If not, then I got to go back to the drawing board, right? A 0 with 0 trades. Okay. So probably a bit restrictive again. All right. We're getting too far out there with the 4. The 3 is it's just not great. Let's go look at the 3 actually. I want to see what these trades look like. What are we missing out on? There's only 2 trades, so both of them were stop outs. Look at that. Okay, well, there's our answer right there. What do you see here? Let's see if you guys are catching on to what we're doing here. What do you see? What's wrong with this trade? Like, why did it not work? Somebody chime in. While we're waiting on answers. Yeah, target's too big. Yeah, target's too big. We would have taken profit had we not had such a big target, right? In here, like, let's look at this. So we've got structures down, momentum's down, everything's down, and we didn't get a trade here at 10:04. 2, 3. Oh, because there's only 2. That's why. So maybe, just maybe, we need to look at 2. And then let's look at profit factor. Again, and let's check it out. And then we'll run it this way first, and then we're going to go back to the previous time that we're looking to optimize. Goes. Just thinking about it. There it goes. Okay. Now we're talking. Right. So this is for, yeah, that's 1 week. Right. So that's 1 week of data. We got 9 trades. And what is that? 7 out of 9 maybe were profitable. Yeah, 7 out of 9. So really strong. Yeah, I mean, so this is why and now we need to go back, right? We need to go back to the other time and see. Before we do that, though, I do want to look at the chart just to see what we're seeing. I want to look at the trades. So that one was a stop out. I think, in general, that looked fine. It's just was bottomed out in the market. That looks great. That looks great. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, these are great. So cool. I'm good with that. Let's go. Yes. Let's go back. I will save it. Save it here. Why? Because we're still adjusting it. And then now let's go back to what we were testing and see, is it profitable for that? You'll see why I'm doing all this, by the way. Just bear with me. I know right now it looks like what on earth is he doing? It's like the Mr. Miyagi moment. Not that I'm even remotely as cool as Mr. Miyagi. I'm not suggesting that by any way, shape, or means, but you get to the end and you're like, oh, okay, I get why he was making me do all this stuff. 42 seconds, huh? Like I say, sometimes the good thing is once you have your sort of benchmarks of what you look to optimize on the algo, once you have that, then it's just a matter of looking at it each week and make sure you've got yourself positioned best for the week ahead. Some of the more advanced concepts would be like, how do you find the best markets to run it on? As I was saying, one of the big, like if it were me, there would be a couple different approaches. Okay. And this is extra prop training. Okay. Prop training 202. I don't know. You want to look at like if you're a one market trader, okay, then you need to have multiple algos. And this is not me trying to sell multiple algos. If you want to buy more, great. If you don't, that's fine. If you're a one market trader, you need multiple algos. Why? Because some days market is trending. Some days it's not trending. So why would you want to make an algo that is set to be a trending algo and make it try to trend trade on a day when your market's not moving or it's going sideways? You're just forcing the market to do what you want it to do, which, as we all know as traders, it doesn't work like that. If you are a multiple market trader, say you're trading ES, RTY, and MNQ, then you find the strongest market, trade that direction with the algo, and that's what you trade for the day. If you get a couple hours in and you're still trading and, NQ totally takes over and it's screaming to the moon and everything else is going sideways, well, then you switch markets, right? But you would have a setting for each market then, and multiple settings, right? And then you would have one for each market, and you'd already be optimized for the week. And then you just pick the market that's trending. Okay, so there's a couple philosophies there. Just by doing this, you're already going to have better prop trading. The next factor is taking a look at, well, what is your prop trading requirements? Do it from a risk standpoint, not a target standpoint. Don't say, well, my target is 3,000 and I want to get there in 2 weeks. And so I need to make, don't tell me you haven't done it because I know you all have. I need to make 300 a day for 10 days. And the market, you know what the market does? It chuckles a little bit. It gives you the middle finger. It kicks you in the ass and it sends you out the door and says, good luck with that. The market doesn't care what your goals are. So stop trying to make it do that. Okay. So from a risk standpoint, you look at it from a risk standpoint and you say, my max drawdown is 2,500 and I don't want to get there. If I take 10 straight losing trades, then that means my risk is 250 per trade. If I want to do 20 straight trades, then my max risk is 125 per trade. As an added hint, the number of trades that you set it to is going to be based on your trading strategy and your risk multiple, your win percentages. And you say, well, it's the algo. Well, it's how you set up the algo for your market. If you're a one-to-one trader and you're hitting 66% of your trades and you need 3 trades a day, that's going to be completely different than a trader who trades for 0.5s, has a 75% winning rate, and trades 6 trades a day. Those numbers are different because the trader that only trades 3 trades a day doesn't want to say, well, 20 trades might be too many. Maybe this trader is more like a 15 trades to hit max risk. And maybe this trader is saying, I can only take 2 stop outs a day because I don't get as many, but I need to have 20 trades. You get the idea, or I need to only have 10 trades because I don't get as many stop outs. You see where I'm going with this? So it really comes down to you as a trader managing the risk and letting your strategy make you the money, right? Your job is to manage the risk. Your strategy's job is to get you winning trades if you trade it correctly and you stay out of your own way. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Does that kind of give you some additional insight on prop trading with the algos? So now that you have an algo that you can tell it how much to risk per trade, isn't that incredible? And now you can set the algo to say, you get down here. Let's say our max risk is 250. And we know we don't ever want to get more than 3 trades down in the day. Well, then you set your max loss to, 700, and then it won't take any more trades. You'll be done for the day. And maybe your goal is, 1,500 for the day or 1,400 for the day, and it'll stop trading when you get there. You have all of that within your disposal. What it comes down to is first starting with profitable settings like this. The question is, do we want 37 trades at a 2.0 or do we want 20 trades at a 3.5? They're both good. They're both good in their own way, but this one has a profit target 2, profit target 2, profit target 1.9, 1.9. So clearly the higher letting it run is a great thing in this case. Interesting because it's trending, right? And then the 3 is better than the 2, but you don't get as many trades. Okay, so you really have to decide like what works for you. In this case, because there's not that much of a difference, I know 600 bucks might seem like a big difference. Because there's not that much of a difference, I would go with the smaller target because you have more of a chance of success in the long run. The larger the target, the less trades are going to hit over time naturally, right? So, okay, so now we have these settings, right? So let's just save this again. So what have we looked at? We've looked at from October 2nd to October 27th, and then we've run it forward for the following week. So now here comes the ultimate answer. Like, is this a good setting? Well, we don't know yet. What do you mean you don't know? Well, technically, we haven't run it forward. So now we're going to run it for the following week. And I want to see, does it make money or does it lose? If it loses, guess what? Time to go look again. So hopefully it's good, right? I assume at this point, because of the fact that we ran it for 4 weeks with no objective for the following week, and we got good numbers, that we'll get good numbers here, but we'll see. I don't know why I ran so many optimizations. I didn't mean to do that, but it is what it is. Our numbers were a 3-bar, and then we had it set to 1.9 profit. So we'll look objectively at those numbers and see. I just got to wait 20 seconds. It's just quicker to just let it do its thing versus trying to abort and do it over. Okay, cool. Decent. You know, nothing wrong with that. We were at 3 with 1.9. That maybe didn't pop up here. Where's the profit? 1.2, 1.1. What was this one? 1.4. This is probably the closest. Here, let's do this. I'm going to change this. Let's just go to backtest. It's whatever is working the best. You kind of got to look at the chart and just see, like, you know, what makes sense on that chart. But yeah, any of them can be good for sure. Just a matter of what works best with that, with that chart and that setting. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Cool. So this was the result with the 3 and the 1.9. Not as many trades. It's only 1 week, you know. Not as many trades because we were filtering it based on the 3, and then we had the target set at 1.9. So, okay. So we did all that work, right? We got our benchmark settings. We ran it from October 2nd to the 27th, and now here we are 2 weeks later, and it's profitable. So how do you know you have good settings? Because they will continue to work over time. Now, if we run it on current charts, odds are it's probably going to need to be optimized again. But let's just go check. I'm going to run it from the 4th because the first couple of days off the holiday are disaster. And let's just look at it currently too and just see. I have zero expectation that this is going to be good, by the way, for this setting, because October is different than January. Okay, it's a couple months out. This is day trading, but at least you now have an idea on how to optimize so that you can get good settings the following week, because that's really what matters. The back test, it's great to see a good back test, but you need to know that your settings are going to work in the future, right? So here we are in, you know, current scenarios, and There's 16 trades out there. It's okay. You know, it's not great. It's flat. It's kind of flat, right? You can go in and look at the times. When is it working? 10 to 11 are the best times. Let's go to cumulative. Just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, so first week, not great. Shocking. Started turning around on the 10th. Let's look at it from the 8th on, because that's probably going to give us a better, more true example of what the markets are doing now. That first week, it's like a chicken with its head cut off. It doesn't know what it's doing, and there's no volume, and there's tons of volatility, and things get wacky. So let's look at it here. Yeah, so that's totally fine. So first couple of days were losers, and then, now it's kind of situated a little bit. We'll go to the chart and look at the chart. What are we seeing? What are we not seeing? And so on. So here's how we can take something from October with a benchmark, and we can just optimize it a little bit and use it more for like current standards, right? So let's go back in here. First thing I'm going to do is save it again so that we've got it. And then this is quirky, but I'm going to load it again, even though I just saved it. And we're going to go to optimize. And what we're going to do now is we know that we've been getting good numbers from 2 to 4. So we're going to go 2 to 4. Entry offset, we really haven't changed. Profit target, we know that we've been getting better numbers with the higher numbers. So I'm going to go 1.5 to 2. Trade time, I'm going to leave alone. And my filters, I'm pretty much just going to leave them alone because they're kind of locked in at this point. And now,
Jim,
yeah.
on your target, I think the increment on your target needs to be, I think you have it as 1 instead of 0.1.
Oh,
I read
thanks.
it wrong.
Yeah, good catch. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Much appreciated. That's, he's the brains of the operation. I'm just I would say the looks, but let's be real. Let's not get too out of line here. Um, cool. So let's run it this way. And now we can optimize it for the last couple weeks, see what's our best setting. And then that's what we would run on RTY next week. Now, I'd love to be able to guarantee that this is going to be the greatest thing that's happened to you in trading next week, but I have no guarantees of that. Also, the fact is it might take a few weeks of optimizing to get really into a groove of what works. And you might not even trade the RTY. You might trade something else, and you might optimize for something else. So that's fine. Cool. So let's see what we came up with. So we've got 12 trades or 23 trades. It looks like the 2s are giving us more trades, but not necessarily more money. And that's a factor there. So we're getting better results with the 3s. So we know that, okay, 3 is going to be the number here. And then let's look at risk reward came in at 1.7. And then this one is 1.6. This one was 2. And then 1.5. So the difference, you got more money on the table with the 1.7. So I'm going to go with that. The drawdown is the same. You see that? 2, 1.7, so on. Those are the same. So we're going to go 1.7 here. And then I don't know that there's really, we can look at the filters just to see, are they still relevant today? And then we'll be done. So we'll go to optimize for that one. And then we're going to go to require structure. We'll optimize that. And then let's go. Got that optimize. Cool. And then we'll optimize this one. So filters on or off, we're going to optimize all of them. Initial setting for markets. No, I absolutely, we can give you some recommendations. What market do you have in mind, Greg? CL is a good one. Yeah. CL is going to be pretty comparable to RTY. Maybe a little bit less on some of the buffers, but that's even a stretch. Like I would say for crude oil, um, optimize your minimum bars for sure. You always want to optimize that one. Risk reward is going to be different on crude. And then your offset, we have it set to a percentage, which is great. You might need to optimize the moving averages because keep in mind, crude oil is more of an oscillating market versus the equities are more trending. Okay, so if we think about this for a second, how many bars do we see going up before we see a reversal bar? Like these markets are going to give you more consecutive bars than say a CL. So that in mind, CL might be better in reversal scenarios where you literally only turn it on and off as you come into support and resistance and you have no filters and you're just waiting for it to bounce. And that might be your setup. Another idea is you can do that with order flow. Like if you're an order flow trader, and this is semi-discretional stuff that you can, I'm just giving additional ideas here. Let's say you are coming up here and you have resistance here and the market comes up and it gives you the reversal look, but you also have order flow signals coming in. Well, if you see that the order flow signals are starting to come in at resistance, you fire the algo to go short. And if you get the signal, it engages in the trade and you make money. All right. So different ideas. MES, I think we had some settings on that one. So you've got a good starting point for ES. I would say start with what we have already and run with that. NQ, there's a couple settings in there. I'm going to give you another one. We're going to look at it. Okay. In the strategy analyzer that come with, how do we know which template is used? You just load it. So you would just load whichever template you want, right? Is that the question? So you would just come down here to template and then load. And then, yeah. So for these settings, so we've got our 3, we've got a 1.7 profit. And in this case, we can see that by filtering these out, we are making more money. If we take some of the filters away, we're getting more trades. This was the most restrictive right here because we only had, or sorry, this one, 12, but it didn't make us more money. The one that had no filters didn't make us anything. This one, no filters, and we didn't make any more, and the drawdown was way higher. The drawdown was the best here, but we gave up 3 trades and we didn't make any more money. So to me, it would be one of these two, this one or this one. So let's just go through and see what came up. So we have, this didn't tell me anything. Okay, so required true for the market structure and required false for moving average. Interesting. Let me click on this one. This one is saying true for the moving average and false for structure. So really, it's one or the other as far as that goes. And then let's go look at this one as more restrictive. So I assume this had all of them. Now remember, this is only a couple of weeks of data. So you don't want to get too caught up in, making sure you get the most amazing settings. It's only 2 weeks of data. You usually want to have 3 to 4, but we don't have the ability to go back another week because it's just different trading and it's not going to be relevant to next week. This one was set to true, true. And then this one I actually don't know, but I assume that was true. Yeah, I would say one of these is probably fine. So it's based on this, it's saying like Well, are you going to use structure or are you going to use the EMA filters? And then in that case, you could re-optimize these the EMA numbers to where you're getting better numbers. That's what I would do anyway. So I would leave them both set to true and then just go back through and re-optimize the numbers. Let me go back up to this one and we'll save it. Actually, let's do the top one. Yeah, let's save it. And then we'll go all the way up. Back test. Cool. 3, 4, 1.7, great. 10 to noon, cool. Swing strength, you could optimize that 2 to 5. I personally, I like the 3 to 5. I think if you go higher, you're gonna get less trades. It's gonna be more restrictive, and it's not necessarily a good thing. Fast and slow required, and then the moving averages. We'll leave those. Yeah, we'll leave them on. And then I'm going to save it this way too, once we've got it run. Cool. Okay, let's go here. Yeah, 2.35, 12 trades over 2 weeks. It's 1.5 trades a day. So it's a little light, but it's only one instrument. So you could run multiple instruments, obviously, and get more trades that way. Let's go look at the time of day just to double check it. And then we'll go by entry time. Cool. So yeah, 10 to 11 still the best. 11:30 is worth sticking around for. Again, it's only 2 weeks, so you can't get too caught up in that what's happening there, right? Yeah, what I would say here, let's save it again. And then I would suggest for this, just go back and re-optimize the EMA numbers for both the VM lean and these EMAs. I would say this one's probably good as is, though. In fact, all right, last thing, let's go in and optimize one more thing. Just because I want to give this to you guys and then you can run with it next week and see how it goes. Max net profit, cool. Let's go to, here we go. I feel like these are different than what we had originally. Am I going crazy? I feel like I'm going crazy. Okay, so weird. How did this might not be the right setting, actually. Let's go back. Hold on. Haha. See, that's why I do these things. Reloaded it just to be sure that it's working right. All right, let's go 5 to 11 and we'll go by ones and then we're going to go let's go 11 23 go by twos. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it that way. 49. What did I do? I might have the filter still set to optimize, so this might take a minute. I would click over here, but I'm afraid that something might crash. So just bear with me and then I'll show you something else here.
I think that's just the number of iterations.
Is it really?
Well, you did like 5 to 11 and then 11 to 23.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I
That's
guess that is
probably
right about
49.
right. Yeah, that's true. That's all right. Then we'll really be in good shape for this one for next week. How heavy resource consumption on the algo? If you have multiple markets. No, I don't think it would be too much lag. Think of it this way. It's like running, a couple indicators on each chart. It's not real intensive from what I've noticed. I think if you're running multiple charts now with multiple indicators and you opt to go this route instead, I don't expect you to have any issues.
Remember, this is running on minute bars, right? Are you running on some minute bars? I wasn't sure if you.
I'm on a volume
Oh,
bar
you
on
are?
this
Okay.
one.
Never
Yeah.
mind then.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty efficient. It's not
Yeah,
like
I can't
it's
imagine I can't imagine it would bog down the system too much. It's not like an order flow or something real intensive. I would think too, Jeff, this would be one of the more lean algos that we've developed compared to
oh
some of
yeah,
the others.
there's not a lot of it's not a huge amount of computing power just to generate a signal. It's
Mm-hmm.
straightforward. I've noticed very efficient processing,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, cool. Cool. Yeah, so these are good. So this one gave us one trade back. And this was based on what are these numbers here? Let's look. So we came up at 523. That's interesting. Unfortunately, we do have to click through these to see what the numbers are. 6 and 17. That one's exactly the same, same. But let's see what some of these numbers are. Maybe they're more coherent to what we were doing before. 521. 619. 913. And then 813. So I think this one was 613, which is pretty comparable to what we were using before. Oh, that was 619. Never mind. So this is where, like I say, you kind of have your numbers that work for you. And if you deviate too far from it, you just end up getting too far off of where you want to be. See, 523 is totally different than what we were using before. So that would make me nervous to want to use that setting because I would I would expect it to be too different than what the history has shown us has worked consecutively and reasonably. 715 is great. Even 815. I'm going to keep 715. We'll go with that one. And then I'll save it this way. It's pretty close to 811, which is what we had before. So 3, 4. Cool. All right, let's save it. I'll save it here, and then I'm going to rename it so that we can get this out to you guys. So we'll call this Springboard Algo RTY. This is on this was on a 3 bar. 3 bar and 1.7 risk reward. These in here, it's easier to see what's going on. 3 bar, 1.7. And we'll put filters. Cool. So here's the other one that I was messing around with. It's more restrictive. It's on NQ, and it's 8 consecutive on NQ, 500 risk, same minimum allowable stop. You could probably optimize that more. 8 is pretty small for NQ. Risk reward 0.6. Again, you could probably look to optimize that. I just kind of started. There's no filters on this one or anything, and it's from the 4th to now. And these are really good numbers. Obviously, 6.6 profit is amazing. But yeah, we can go through and I can maybe on my own time I'll optimize a little bit more and then get that over too. So I'm gonna go into Discord now and post what we just worked on. Um, well, a lot of notes in here going around. Cool. Let me paste this in here. So if you go to Springboard Algo, this is where I'm going to paste it. Okay, incoming. Oh yeah, that's I need to put that in the title actually. Otherwise, nobody's going to know what the heck I'm doing. Let me just save it here. Yeah, let's let's do that. Let me delete this one. Okay, upload and 325 ball. Okay, there you go. Let's paste it in there. Grab it. Enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, I think we're good to go. We've covered a lot. We spent a little extra time getting something together. You can kind of see the process of it's just kind of what I do to get an optimization going. And obviously, I usually don't go that far back, but just with the holidays and everything, I just figured let's use an example of what we would have done back then. Um, yeah. No, I would say no in this case. You don't. Yes, to some degree. So here's what I would say to that. The longer time frame you go in your testing, you're going to get closer to the benchmark. The problem is what is relevant over the long span is only your benchmark. So you need to remember that you want to have ranges above and below to optimize, and you don't want to optimize too far back because then it's just not gonna, you'll spend so much time optimizing for nothing is the short version. So the way that I start out is when I start out with my benchmark settings, I'll use more weeks. I'll use more weeks to determine what that benchmark is, and then I'll put ranges in to know, well, this is going to be my optimization template that I use to test it over the course of maybe 4 weeks. And then that I will run for 1 week, and then I'll do it over again and optimize the last 4 weeks, and I'll run that for a week. Then I'll optimize 4 weeks, run that for a week, optimize 4 weeks, run that for a week. That's the best. That's the best what I would suggest. And by range, I mean like the minimum consecutive bars where we had that as like a 3 to a 5. You'll know what your ranges need to be for each parameter. So if your benchmark is, let's say that number on your market is a 4, well, then you know you're going to go probably 2 to 6, and that'll be your range. 4 was the benchmark that gave you consistent numbers. That's kind of the best way to look at it. Yeah, but very good question. We get it often. I wouldn't focus too much on what happened back in, even December, because it's just not relevant to what the market's doing today. Apex has a trailing stop. Will this work on the algo? Yeah, it comes down to risk management. How you manage the risk is 100% make or break. The algo is the strategy, but you are the trader. You're the one telling it how much to trade. So that's up to you to decide. But ultimately, I think if you go with something like what we were looking at, figuring out what those numbers are for you, that'll put you in a good spot. And then it comes down to optimizing each week, right? Making sure that you have the best settings possible. And if you have a trending setting and your market's not trending, well, you're just, it's like two ends of the magnet, the same end of the magnet trying to come together. It's just not going to work. So if you're a one market trader, then you have multiple different settings or different algos. If you have, multiple markets you trade, you find the one that's going to line up the most with what you're running for your algo. So, yeah. So these are good thoughts on how to make the most of it. For me, like, if I was trading only algos, I would I would have a number of different algos, and I would look at the markets objectively for the day and see which one do I want to run based on what the markets are doing. So it's just the same as trading, right? That's going to give you the best approach every day. So cool. I think we're good to go. If you think of any other questions, reach out. But otherwise, have a fantastic rest of the day. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all on Monday on the charts and in the trade room. And thanks so much for hanging out. And thanks again for your continued business and picking up the algo. We certainly appreciate it. So we will get the
Great
recording.
session, Jim.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, good. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, likewise. Thanks for being around to catch my errors, which I am very thankful because I do make errors, and I'm glad you're able to say, this is how this works. So very cool. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
No worries.
Yeah, and everybody thank Jeff for all of this guy works a lot to get these algos ready and get them up in development. He works a lot. So everybody say thank you to Jeff for putting these together. Him and the team, man, they're workhorses. So
I tell you, we have some amazing programmers on our team. So
we do.
I'm really appreciative of that. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And now we got more QA, so
Yeah.
we're good to go. Big things coming. And don't worry, we'll be back at it again in a couple of weeks with a new one. And I'm very excited about the next one. So it's
The
coming.
suspense is killing me.
Yeah. I can't wait to get into it
I
some
got a
more.
new version of that to send you, or I'll send it over.
Okay, awesome. Sneak peek. Nope, no sneak peeks here. Only because I don't have it loaded yet. Yeah, it's coming. Yep, that'd be the one. That'd be the one. All right, traders, enough. Have a good rest of the day, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers, everybody. Take care.